I do not agree that the customer is always right. As a matter of fact, they're probably mostly wrong.
This week we have Mr. Harley DeMyers. What's the romance of the fine dining experience? Harley is a hospitality leader who has spent over 2 decades working inside some of the most demanding, high-profile restaurant and nightlife groups in the country.
I think it's the romance that got me into the business before I knew I was going to be in the business.
Naturally introverted, Harley learned early on how to create a professional character to survive and succeed in an industry built on energy, performance, and presence.
I had always worked in hospitality to pay my way through school. There's not enough sharing of appreciation in the hospitality industry these days.
But he was just like living in 2 different worlds, and it sounds like that was like your reality.
I think it's less so about the mental focus and it's more so about the discipline.
We got Harley DeMyers in the house.
What's happening?
What's up, brother?
Slightly anxious,
Really?
but kind of excited too. I'm happy to be joining. I'm naturally introverted, and this feels like a very extroverted thing to do.
Isn't your job like very extroverted though?
Yeah, but at work, I feel like I'm playing a character. So that's how I can kind of get myself over my introversion. I can kind of say, well, at work, the character I need to play is sort of this ringleader, this Mr. Barnum Bailey sort of circus master kind of a character, and in that role. Well, that person is very outgoing, right? That person is always having a good time. They're always smiling. They're always, the life of the party. Naturally, I'm not that person.
Have you always felt the character role throughout the hospitality career, like from a young age?
Yes, and I think it's shaped a lot as I've gotten older and as I've gotten more comfortable with sort of understanding that there can be a professional version of myself and there can be a private version of myself, and neither one of those is untrue to who I am. But I think it took me a long time to figure out who the professional version of myself was.
And you just didn't want to be that all the time, either one, if that makes sense?
I felt like it was too hard to be that all the time. Well, maybe it's not saying like it's too hard to be that all the time. I think they just weren't the same thing, right? Like I think from a very early age, I always sort of dabbled in 2 worlds in a way.
2 worlds.
I went to a high school in a suburban part of Atlanta. It was, it wasn't a high academic achieving kind of place. We had a club for kids that scored over 1,000 on the SAT.
That's that's very low.
Yeah, right. And
At the time,
and it was like a club, right? And there weren't a lot of people in it, right? And I was.
I'm assuming you were in the club.
I was in it, and so
Makes sense.
and there weren't a lot of those in my graduating class that were going off to college, and I went to this engineering school that was like pretty well known in Atlanta. I went to Georgia Tech, and it was like hard to get into, right? And I had a group of friends at home that were not in college, that were pursuing other ventures, right? Most of them hustling, right? And not in a legal way necessarily, but just like finding ways to work for themselves. And I was pursuing this sort of very professional role, right? I'm in
engineering.
I'm in physics 2 classes, and I'm studying in libraries, and then I go home and I'm talking to my best friend who just won $400 in a dice game in the afternoon, or my other buddy who's fixing up an old school Chevy and he's going to put 24s on it, and he's going to flip the car for a couple $1,000. And so I was always kind of in these
Have you watched
2
Suits?
worlds. No.
Like
TV
lawyer show?
I've heard of it.
Okay. So there's this character Mike in it, and he is a genius.
Oh.
You are Mike in Suits. Because he would illegally take LSATs courses or tests for his friends, and he would deal drugs for his friends. and I'm not saying you did that, but he was just like living in two different worlds, and it sounds like that was like your reality.
Yeah, for sure, right? Like I would leave college. I didn't live on campus. I lived with three, my brother, a cousin, and a close friend of ours in a house in the suburbs of Atlanta. And, we'd spend the afternoon shooting dice, or I'd go, we had
shooting dice. So like, what does that mean? I actually never played dice.
So it's really funny, right? Because as we talk about becoming more comfortable, right? Like I very much, out of societal pressure or community pressure, like wanted to fit in, right? And so I'm talking to my wife like last year, right? I'm like, we're going to play dice. We're going to shoot dice. And she's like, you have no fucking clue how to shoot dice. And I'm like, are you crazy? I used to shoot dice every weekend, right? And I did. And so we bought these dice, and I'm talking this big game, and I don't fucking remember how to play dice.
I wanted to know how to play dice.
I don't fucking remember. Look, I mean, I remember the basics, right? Like, on your first point, on your first rollout,
yeah,
you don't. Double sixes and double ones are bad, right?
Okay.
That's crap out, right? I think 7 or 11 is an automatic win, if I remember right. And then anything else that you hit is your number. And you have to hit that number again before you hit.
It's okay. You're good, bro.
I don't remember.
It's funny how like you could get so dialed in one thing and then it goes away.
Yeah.
And then there's also those things that never go away. Like, for example, I spent a lot of hours during COVID learning the Rubik's Cube and juggling.
Okay.
Right? Juggling stayed. Rubik's Cube is gone.
So what was your juggling proficiency pre-COVID?
0.
Like you couldn't do 2 balls?
I can do 2 balls.
But 3, no shot?
No shot.
And then post-practice, how many balls are we talking?
Still 3, but like I could go for like an hour.
Oh, wow. Can you like move around with it?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But Rubik's Cube's gone. Yeah.
Never got Rubik's Cube.
Never got Rubik's Cube.
Never got Rubik's
You had
Cube.
dice though.
I had dice. I mean, and yeah, I would like to imagine that I was really good at it, right? I remember one point in time we took, the liquor companies used to sponsor all these crazy things, especially when I lived in Miami, right? They could do whatever they want, spend all this money. And back then there was a lot of budgets for this. And one of the companies, I think it was Kettle One, rented out a river boat and had like a on the water casino, but you couldn't use real money because, we're like still within national waters.
Sure.
And, Kettle One sponsoring it. So there was no real money at stake, which sucked because I went hot on dice. I had no fucking clue what I was doing. But the dealer was like screaming, and everyone else was yelling. So you knew how to play, but didn't know how to play. Oh, dude, I was just hitting. That's all I knew. I was hitting. That's all I knew.
What do you call it? So these two different worlds. How did you? Did these friends of yours pull you out of the engineering world? What pulled you out of the engineering world into like this hospitality, this character that you play every week and stuff like that?
I think it was a combination of a couple things. I think so I had always worked in hospitality to pay my way through school. So I got into Georgia Tech, and there was this thing then called the Hope Scholarship, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
It was like in Georgia, if you graduated high school with a certain GPA and went to a state school, they would take care of your in-state tuition. Georgia Tech was a state school, happened to be a great school as well, so it like worked out super, super well. But I bartended at this little jazz club to pay my bills, and that's where I started. And it was very, very entrepreneurial.
So you bartended before you served?
Well, so I was a bar back dishwasher.
Okay.
And then one day the bartender didn't
also,
show up.
Bar backing and dishwashing is probably one of the hardest like hospitality jobs that I've ever had.
Oh yeah, it was like 18, 19. And we're like now luckily it wasn't too busy as a restaurant. So most of what I was washing was glassware and like little small plates and bar backing. And then one day a bartender didn't show up, and the owner was like, "You're bartending." And I was like, awesome.
Sick.
And then that stuck for like 6 months. And then I interviewed at this fine dining seafood restaurant in downtown Atlanta. And I had no business getting the job. The guy that was the GM of the restaurant, luckily, was the GM of a country club that I was a lifeguard at when I was in high school.
Okay.
And so I walk in for this interview.
Is it you that said that lifeguarding was one of your favorite jobs?
No,
Okay.
I mean, it was a good job.
Okay.
I didn't have to do much, right? My pool was like 5 feet deep, 4.5 feet deep. Like it was, it was.
Okay.
We're cool.
You
we're
didn't have to do
chilling.
CPR or anything?
Yeah, no, like we're not. I mean, we saved like a couple kids, right? But it wasn't anything that.
It wasn't that deep.
Not that dramatic.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so where were we at? So I got this job at this fine dining seafood restaurant because the GM I knew or whatever, and he hired me, my younger brother, and our friend, who all three of us had worked
Full squad.
Yeah, we had all three worked at the country club back when we were all in high school. We're all in our like 20s. I think I was 20, my brother was 19, our other friend was 20. Next youngest server was like 32.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So we got this opportunity that we shouldn't have gotten, which we excelled at, all three of us. Like not a single one of us took it for granted. And we did that for about a year, and then I went into this other restaurant, and I kind of was this lead server, and I was getting really frustrated with school. It was very difficult, and like going back to what I said, right? I was living these two worlds, right? I'm not living on campus. I'm trying to be present and study and do all of that during the day at school, and then at night, we're running the streets with my friends, and we're, drinking beers and smoking weed and, having a good time, working in these restaurants, right? And where we're like working hard, playing hard. And that really stuck. And like that sort of community and friendship and, sort of like lust for life was what I felt like it was, really stuck and resonated.
Restaurant hospitality people are very lively for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And that restaurant, that seafood restaurant, was in Midtown Atlanta. So there was all these little bars behind it. And there was this place where it was called Twisted Taco. And on Sundays,
Let's go Twisted Taco.
You could get $2 shots of SoCo or $2 shots of Grand Marnier.
Gee,
And we would...
That's crazy.
Dude, and we would have $300 tabs with $2 shots of SoCo and $2, like the whole squad would show up.
So it's so weird talking to you about it because you're sober now.
Yeah. Well, 4+ years now, right?
Like I kind of want to go back to Atlanta, Harley, and just see what he was like when he was taking $2 shots of Grand Marnier.
Dude, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times.
Also, SoCo? Who's taking shots of SoCo? If you guys don't know what that is, it's called Southern Comfort, correct?
Southern Comfort, yeah.
Yeah, and they're popular in Manhattans, but I've never heard of SoCo being taken shots of.
But dude, back then it was a thing for sure.
Oh, really?
I'm 2021. We were drinking Incredible Hulks.
I don't even know what that is.
Hypnotic and Hennessy.
That sounds awful.
Well, Hypnotic was blue, and obviously Hennessy is deep brown, and so when you put it together, it becomes this beautiful green color.
Ever since I was getting into this health and wellness space, I keep looking at colors.
Okay.
Of like drinks.
Okay.
I'm like, green and blue going into your body, like that cannot be good for you.
Yeah. Well, look, that's what inspired Clear Pepsi, right? They were like
Clear Pepsi.
Did you ever have Clear Pepsi?
I never had a Clear Pepsi. I think I've heard of this.
Delicious.
Is it?
Yeah. It's like Sprite, but they call it Clear Pepsi.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
Pepsi made something clear.
They made a Clear Pepsi, yeah.
Why isn't it around?
I think it's still around in Asia.
Really?
Yeah. It was a big thing when I was probably like mid-teens. For sure. So, similar to around the same time that they were like giving away the Harrier jet. Remember? I never watched the documentary, but there was a documentary on it where this
the
kid,
Harriet jet.
Right.
Yeah,
where the kid like gamed the system and got all the points and was like, "Where's my jet?" It was during that same period of time. They had Clear Pepsi. Yeah.
Did it sponsor that?
I don't know.
I'm kidding.
I don't know.
So what got you? What was the tipping point to finally drop engineering? I also could see you as an engineer, to be honest.
Dude, I had these aspirations, right? I was really good at math and science.
Yeah.
That's
what was your favorite math class? Do you remember?
I was really good at calculus. I don't remember now like what my favorite was. I was really good at calculus. I was good at science.
Yeah.
I didn't have to try too hard. Like I would get pretty decent grades without trying too hard. So I was like, naturally, I'm just going to do something math and science related. It was probably twofold. One, I definitely was loving my time in the food and beverage industry. I didn't really have any aspirations of like doing more. I was just having a really good time, and I was like, obviously I'm not doing great at school. I took a physics 2 test that was like 5 questions, all multiple choice. And every answer I got when I took that test was one of the multiple choice answers. So I left that room feeling really good, right? And I had all-nighter, studied all night, right? Like really, this is in my second year, first semester. Studied all night. I'm in there, I'm taking the test. All my answers are on there. I get the test back and I scored like a 35. And I was like, fuck this.
That's how I felt when I went to UCLA for the first time, because I went to community college and I was very good at math as well, all the way through calculus. And then I go to UCLA and there's, for like finals and midterms, it's only like one question, one equation, and then like 10 pages to give the proof for it. And then I got like a 42% or a 30% on something. And then I was just like, yeah, I don't think I'm built for this.
Yeah, right? Like,
and I don't know. I don't understand the, like, I love statistics and I love like English now and grammar because we use it on a day-to-day basis. But
right.
when are you using Calc 3, dog?
Yeah, for real, right? And I mean, I think like basic math,
it's so important.
it's super important. And I'm
Super
glad that I'm very quick with it, right? Like basic, arithmetic, math, addition, and, multiplication, division, like percentages, things like that. I can do all that really quickly. But to your point, like, when was the last time you did A plus B equals C or the XY,
Yeah.
Like, when have you done algebra or especially calculus? Like,
Yeah.
When have you done calculus anytime recently?
I mean, helping cousins with the homework, but I don't know if I taught them correctly for sure.
They're gonna be in there like, well, Nate said, But now, I mean, kids don't know anything these days anyway.
Yeah. What was it? I have a client. He's younger. He's 21, and he was proctoring. He's a smart 21-year-old, like probably the smartest 20-year-old I know.
Yeah.
He's caught up on news, caught up on like the market, caught up on current events, like aced everything. He goes to Duke, like smart as fuck kid. And he was proctoring like SAT, like tests for his high school.
Okay.
And one of the kids raised his hand and was like, can you help me with this question? And first off, you can't ask like anyone for help on those tests, but it was synonym. Like, what's a synonym? This high school kid was asking, what's a synonym? I'm like, how do you not know what a synonym is at?
I'm so comfortable being wrong these days. Like 20-year-old me would have just like shit my pants just now, broke out sweating and been like, fuck, oh, you're an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
Right. But now it's just like, yeah, like there's so many more things that I don't know than I do know.
Most people.
Yeah.
Most people.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I think that also is what like and I know we're kind of, but like where I find like the grace with people, and I hope people find the grace with me, is like, there's so much more that I don't know than I do know. So like, let's figure this out, and I hope you approach me in the same way, right? Like,
I saw this saying on your LinkedIn. It was a part-time mentor, full-time student.
Yeah, my wife thinks that's stupid. And
I don't think it is.
I
don't think that is. What?
And I've heard that not just from her, right? She's not the only one, but she's the most recent person who has told me that. She's
This
like,
is recent.
Yeah. She's like, you should probably change that. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. Like in some ways, yes, but I think
We love full-time student, and we like mentoring people part-time.
yeah. Hopefully, it gives across this idea that there's always more to learn, right? Like even though I find a lot of people, like I'm 20 years into my career, and I find a lot of people at that stage in their career approach it from a standpoint of let me tell you
What to do.
not what to do, but like let me tell you how it's done, right? And they don't leave a lot of room for maybe I could learn something new. It's like I've already seen it, I've done it. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Is there anything new or interesting that you want to learn in the hospitality industry?
I mean, I'm super curious about AI. right? I think that they're
How would that affect hospitality? I feel like hospitality is one of the industries that it needs to stay as far away from that as possible to continue to thrive.
Yes, but I think there's some things on the administrative side that really take a lot of time from operators and take time away from being able to, at least for me, right? Like the thing that I love doing, I love being on the floor. I love like being in service with a team.
Can you explain like what the floor is and for someone who doesn't know hospitality?
Yeah, totally. So, I like to say I built my career being a really good server. Like I got really good with guests, and that's actually what got me the opportunity to be a manager. There was a local reviewer from Atlanta that came into this restaurant that I was working at. I happened to be the server. He named me by name in the review. He had never done that, but he was like the go-to restaurant critic for Atlanta at that time. And so the review comes out, I'm mentioned by name on this server. I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking great. But still, it never registered that this was going to be a career to me. And then somebody higher up in the company came and said, hey, you're really good at this. Do you want to train other people? We'd love for you to teach other people how to do this, like the way that you do it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then, that sort of started the whole journey, right? That's kind of, how I got my start was like being really good with guests. And then my first management job was teaching other team members how to be really good. And something I learned really early on then from somebody I worked with, there were a lot of really positive things that I learned from this person, but something that I learned as an opportunity to be better was, this person would go into our huddles, right? In restaurants, you'll have like a pre-shift, right? You get everyone together for like 15 minutes before you open doors. You talk about, reservations, busy times, specials, things you might be out of, service notes, things that you want to work on as a team, things you're doing really well. And so this person I worked, he was my boss, and he would have these amazing pre-shifts, right? They were all very informative. We would go through food and we would go through all these different things, and he would talk about what he wanted to see in service and what we needed to work on. And then as soon as pre-shift was over, he would go back to his office, and then we would be on the floor. And I felt like he always sort of missed an opportunity to really reinforce what he was looking for, right? Like, okay, it's one thing to say something, it's another thing to then, sort of back it up with action. And so as I grew, I found a really big strength of mine being the fact that I could be on the floor and I could support service and I could be somebody that could like mentor the staff and get them to be better at what they do. And in turn, it became this really sort of fun, cohesive working environment, and everyone's having a good time. And I could sort of be this person behind the scenes, although very much on the floor, but it was never, restaurants are never about, at least for me, it's never about me. Right. And so being somebody that's able to set the tone for a place, you are then able to also like orient what people's focus is, right? And so I can focus people on the guest, right? It's not about me, it's about your experience and the guest experience. So how do we figure that out? Right?
And how does AI play a role in that?
So anyway, we were going back to like AI. So I think there's ways where AI, especially in the building of agents, right? I think there's payroll agents that can be built that can speed up payroll processes. I think there's, sort of HR functions and onboarding and really like seamless functions that can speed that up. I think there's a lot that can be helped in, there's a couple things I'm interested in, like SOP writing or in note taking and meeting note optimization. And
for SOPs and everything like that, it's kind of interesting that you've worked at a ton of places where there's like zero SOPs for, I don't know, servers, bartenders, at very elevated places from what you've given me like backgrounds on. I'm like, what?
Well, every place has them,
okay,
right? I think it's, how well can you
implement them?
Not only implement them, but how well can you really live and breathe them? How well can you orient a team around them? And that's where I find, especially in higher levels of hospitality, if you're able to hire the right people and work with the right people, you can provide a roadmap that's less SOP, less instructional, less like, number one, number two, in case of, do this. And you can create, a culture that's more sort of like aspirational, right? And you can talk about what are the end goals, right? How do we want people to feel when they leave here, whether that be the person that's coming to work or the person that's coming and spending their money here, and then how do we work backwards from that? And like in a perfect world, and it's very hard, right?
Yeah.
I speak of this, and people are gonna watch this. They're gonna be like, "He's fucking high," right? That shit doesn't happen. Like, but I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's really hard. I think it starts with, a lot of focus and attention to detail and commitment and passion.
Well, you feel it in certain you feel it in certain restaurants or certain hotels or certain experiences. Like you feel the culture, right? You like, for example, I worked at CPK.
Okay.
That was my first like bartending server job, or second. And you had to say the exact words that were on the script. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. But like, I got reprimanded for it, but I always got like really good tips.
Yeah.
But I didn't follow the rules, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And because the end goal is those scripts are meant to provide your best chances of achieving like the culture of what the company wants it to be.
Right.
But you don't need to use those exact words or the exact processes to do so.
Yeah, and I think, it's like, what do you want to be, right? And I think that's a decision for whoever the company is, whoever the owner is, whoever the share, like what do they want to be? I mean, I think those, there's so many different places that, like, I don't look down on any type of hospitality, right? I know that, I guess, kind of like where I thrive, I guess, in a way, right? And I found being able to because I started with a place that had a script, right? And I loved it, and I championed it, and I was all about it. And we opened 4 or 5 of them, and I still, to this day, think they had an amazing product. And I think, CPK has a great product. And,
I don't know. CPK is closing down.
I haven't been to one in a really long time, I'll be honest with you. But there's places like that, right?
Yeah.
But I think now, like, what excites me is, and with AI, right? I think it's going to be able to give smaller operators the ability to free up more time. Unfortunately,
don't need to pay for
the cost
service,
of I mean, the cost of business is not going down. The cost of doing business, and so there are so many places that have less managers today than they did 4 or 5, if they're still here, right? If they were here 5 years ago and they're still here today, they probably have less managers today than they did 5 years ago. Yeah. They probably, have fewer front of house team members today than they did 5 years ago.
What characteristic traits of some places that you admire and have stayed around for a very long time, what do those types of restaurants encompass versus the building or the restaurant that flips every year or every few years?
I think there's some winning elements. I think there's a little pixie dust and fairy dust that goes into it sometimes as well, right? I've seen some incredible restaurants with amazing chefs and really good food and really good service not make it, and not be there. There was a place, I can't imagine it was super expensive to run. Again, I don't know their background, but there was like this hidden gem at the arcade Button Mash. There was a restaurant in there called Poltergeist, and it was so fucking good. And every time I went, it was pretty busy, right? It was never dead, but it closed down. And I would say it was definitely one of my favorites in the city. And then there's other places that probably I think aren't necessarily as focused on the quality of food and the quality of service, more so the quality of the atmosphere and the quality of the experiential side of things, right? That are crushing it. It's hard to say. I would say the winning elements, though, people eat with their eyes first. Design has to be a part of it. Even if it looks run down, make it look run down on purpose, right? Like people want to even make it look super unique, right? Make it something bold. I think you've got to have good food, whatever that is, whether it's, a small plate or something large. It's, I would say smaller menus are
smaller menus kill
now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Oh, before you think big menus did well.
Well, you have smaller kitchens, right? And the other thing, like, I don't know about you, but it takes me a while to decide on something, right? I can be pretty indecisive, so smaller menus help kind of the flow of things go a bit quicker.
Way quicker.
Right? You don't have 50 things to choose
When you're
from.
at In-N-Out and Chick-fil-A, that shit's quick.
Yeah, you got like 6 sandwiches.
That's it.
Right? And what do you want?
Yeah. Versus, I don't know. When I go to a restaurant and there's like hundreds of options, it is a lot.
Yeah.
Like, what's good?
Well, it's gonna take you forever, and then it's like
What's the romance of the fine dining experience? Like, there's so many. Like, I took my parents to Lavo when we worked there, and they didn't experience like a restaurant like that before. Or I took them to Soho House, and they didn't experience an environment like that before.
right.
And a lot of people will never or do not often get to experience some of the places we've both been able to work at in terms of private membership clubs or elevated restaurants. And I guess, what's the romance of that experience?
Well, I
as
think
a consumer?
I think it's the romance that got me into the business before I knew I was going to be in the business. So what I mean by that, like, I didn't grow up the most well off, right? So us being able to go out and have a meal out, that was like a big deal.
Any
right?
type of meal.
Anything, right?
Like Olive Garden was great.
Right. If we're going out to Olive Garden, like, we are dressing up, right? This is a big deal. This is great. This is so amazing. I can't believe it. And then I got really into Iron Chef, and
Let's go Iron
the
Chef?
original, right?
The original Iron Chef.
Where it was like dubbed over, and so the mouth is moving like 1,000 miles a minute, and then you hear like the English, right? So I got really into that, and then I talked about lifeguarding, right, in high school. So like, I remember when I would get those paychecks, the person I was dating in high school, I would want to like take him to dinner, right? And we would go to, I don't know if you're familiar with Gordon Biersch.
No.
It's similar to like what Yard House is now.
Okay,
right?
I fuck with Yard House.
But this was before Yard House, right? There was Gordon Biersch. They made their own beer in house. They had like a few different things. The one in downtown Atlanta looked really cool, and I was like, oh, I'm doing big things, right? And so that's where my romance with restaurants started, right? And I think that's where, when I talk about like the stuff that really excites me, it's the kind of things where you're able to create these moments where people, if even just for those 2 hours, forget where they are, right? Forget the shitty day, the shitty week, maybe they don't have anything shitty going on. They're having a great time, and they're able to, for a moment, just sort of like escape reality, right? And I think the best restaurants really have the ability to do that, where they sort of they take away your sense of time. They take away your sort of sense of expectation, right? Because your mind's blown so many times, you're like, I don't even know what to think anymore, right? Like, I don't know what's gonna come next. But yeah, that's I think some of the romance of it.
When's the last time you experienced that?
A couple times recently. So I got married, which obviously.
Shouts out Mitzi.
Yeah, shouts out Mitzi. So we went to Thailand for our honeymoon. And we went to this restaurant called Patong, which was super dope. It's in Chinatown, in Thailand, in Bangkok, and it's 5 levels. And so this restaurant has been in the chef's family for over 100 years. Her name is Pam.
This building. Okay.
And so her great-great-grandparents, and I'm probably ruining the story, but it's something along these lines, right? But her great-great-grandparents operated it as like a pharmacy on like the first couple of levels, and then there was like something else that happened on level 3 and 4, and then the top level was an opium den where people would go. Yeah, people would go and smoke opium, right? Like, we're talking like 1910 Bangkok, right?
Yeah.
Like, how sick would that
Sick.
be? I would
definitely be there in 1910.
I would definitely, if I could pick a place to go. But anyway, so they preserve the history of the space, right? They didn't try to make the building feel modern. They really restored it in the way that it looked 100 years ago. And there was these really cool elements of like augmented reality. So when you would go in, when you checked in, they had you scan this like QR code and like I think he was downloading an app or it was something. But then as you like pointed your camera at certain places within the restaurant, videos would start playing that would tell
On the phone.
on your phone, that would tell you more of the story of, and then dinner started by taking you up to the 5th level to the opium den. And so you had like your little snacks up there, and then, you know, a glass of wine or whatever it was. And then you go down to another level, and then there was like other courses, and then you're at another level. And the food was just so like intricate but delicious. There was a story behind every dish. I really appreciated the hospitality. There were so many cool elements of like thing. That's one thing that I think I love the most about being in the industry now is like, you know, I rarely get pissed off. You know, like I can recognize bad service, but I rarely get pissed off. But I can get really impressed. And I think for me, it's something that, and it started a while ago in my career, but that's something I definitely strive to do, right? Like for the people that are in the industry and do this, it'd be really cool to impress those people, you know, and you know, I'm nobody, but I'm definitely, as a consumer, somebody that's like impressed often by cool things that I see, and inspired often by cool things that I see.
That's funny that you say that you're not as bothered by it, because I could relate as well. It's like shit goes on in the restaurants, and shit hits the fan, and like I'm like, yo, you're good, bro. Like whenever, it's cool.
I've seen some shit melt down, right?
But you know? Like we've also seen the other side. We've seen the lady that snaps at a server, or snaps at a manager, or an employee that snaps at a manager, and it's crazy. The reactions of those people. I was like, yo, what happened to you, dog? Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, who am I to say that they're wrong? I guess. I mean, it's not how I would handle the situation.
Yeah.
Have you ever been pissed in a restaurant? I've definitely been pissed one time.
One time.
Oh, I lost my shit.
Did we get to hear it?
I'll tell you about it.
Yeah.
Little ceviche place, Miami, very close to. I had an apartment in downtown Miami. It had just opened. After that time, they expanded. He opened a few more locations, right? Super successful. But at this point, it had just opened. It was getting a really good buzz. It was a couple blocks from my apartment. So we go. I was starving, right? Already.
Hungry.
Starving.
Okay.
Starving. So server comes over, takes our order, then goes to another table and talks to the chef for like half an hour. And I knew it was the chef because I recognized his face, right? And I'm in the industry at that point, right? I'm working in Miami. I'm working at, you know, some different restaurants. I was aware of sort of the places that were opening and the chefs that were doing things. So she talks to him for like 30 minutes. I peep the whole thing. Then she goes and puts in our order. So after like 45 minutes since we placed her order, I'm like, hey, is our food coming out? She's like, it's going to be a little bit longer. You just need to be patient.
Oh, you're talking about as a guest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I was pissed. Yeah. Oh, I've definitely been pissed as a manager. Yeah, definitely. Way more than once. But yeah, so then she's like, oh, well, it'll be out when when it's ready. And I was like, so you're over there talking to that guy for a half hour and you can't put our order in.
You said this?
Yeah.
Oh.
And you can't put our order in. And now it's my fault that our food's taking way too long. And she goes, just for your information, that guy over there is the owner. And I was like, just for your information, we're currently helping pay his bills. So where's my fucking food, right? And I was like, oh man, I'm way too hot. I gotta get out of here. I was like,
did you guys get up?
Yeah, I left.
Oh,
I left. I was way too hot. I was like, I don't even know who I am right now. So I need to go. And then I don't know what I ate. I have no idea what I ate. But
probably I don't know, a taco truck or something after that.
Who fucking knows? Who knows?
What did you learn from working with some of the biggest hospitality companies? I guess Tao, because that's kind of worldwide. Is there any other worldwide companies that you've worked for?
I mean, I worked for this company out of Miami called 50 Eggs, and they did a couple things in Singapore, similar to like, I mean, nowhere near to the extent of Tao Group, right? Much smaller group.
So what is I guess companies like 50 Eggs or Tao Group do differently than a singular mom and pop shop or a medium-sized club, or you know what I'm saying?
I think
Is it better? Do they do things better? They have to do things better because it's so much scalable, right? Or no?
I mean, in some ways you do things better, right? You gain efficiencies by having more places. You're able to add certain layers that a mom and pop may not be able to afford, right? A place like Tao Group can afford, a whole marketing department and a whole IT team and things like that, where smaller independent operators, they're relying on, maybe it's a third party social media consultant or social media, consulting manager or something, a marketing consultant, or they have, IT support maybe if something really goes wrong. Otherwise, we just sort of figure it out. I think, there's efficiencies that are found in scale for sure. And there's opportunities to be able to really do things at a very large scale, right? And to draw in more investors and to be able to open more properties and to kind of keep fueling that machine. Sometimes it can make you slow to react, right? It can make it more difficult to make change, whether it's hard to say whether the change is necessary, right? But it can be harder to make change because you have more people involved, you have more stakeholders, you have more locations to think about, more people to think about. It can also, I think, the thing that and this is not to say that Tao has gotten away from that, right? But the thing that I really loved a lot about my onboarding,
your experience at
right?
Tao.
My onboarding to Tao, the first
few years.
6 months, first year, the first, it was very evident.
Yeah. How was? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it was very evident that there was a huge focus on the team member experience, right? You would hear it said a lot, but you would see it reinforced a lot.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that they don't do that now,
No.
but I don't know that
It's at the
that
same.
it was as vocal during my last year as it was my first couple of years. And I think that happens with, I've seen it with other big companies, right? That have, taken on investments and, where it now starts to become more about shareholder return, or, mom and pops have the benefit of it being, the benefit and the curse of it being about, we're trying to stay in business, right? And so if that means, a 2 or 3% return, but we're doing really quality work and we can be super proud of what we're doing, then that's something that we can be okay with and we can stand by. When you start getting, more people involved and more stakeholders involved,
too many cooks in the kitchen.
Well, then it becomes, okay, I'm glad that you're okay with 3%, but I want 6%. I don't care what you want, right? And so the difference there, unfortunately, especially in a small, in the economic bubble of LA and the way that minimum wage works and things like that. That difference from 3 to 6%
is insane.
Is quality, right? It's quality of service. It's quality of food. It's not, because most restaurants they're charging as much as they can right now. They're not trying to juice their profits, right? They're literally trying to stay in business, right? And sure, I'm sure there are some places that are absolutely killing it. I have no doubt, right? That I know there's some institutions, right, that are absolutely killing it.
Every time we go to Steak 48, it's usually great.
Look, and they're packed, right?
And they're packed all the time.
And I think there's going to be certain markets where maybe they don't feel it, but I would bet, and I don't know this to be true, but I would bet that Steak 48 sales this year are probably less than they were last year. I don't know that to be true, right?
Sure.
But the market would say that there's a good chance that that's true.
That's true. You were a general manager at Tao when Tao was in a lot of rap songs.
Oh, we were crushing it.
Crushing
dude.
it. Yeah. Give me a night at craziest.
Dude, I mean, I could tell you so many stories, right? I mean, everybody would come in for the I want the Drake Yellowtail,
Drake Yellowtail?
Because he I don't forget what song, right? But there was a song he said, "I do Yellowtail at Tao."
Yeah.
And everybody came for the Drake Yellowtail, right?
Isn't it crazy that a rapper could just say a line like that and it influences culture to, like, that's the Tao that Drake's talking about?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, it was Highlight Room was in a song. Was it a 21 Savage song during that same time? I mean, it was a crazy time. We filmed who was it? Gunna and Young Thug video in Tao during the pandemic when everyone's supposed to be like quarantined and stuff like that, right? We were absolutely very safe. Extremely safe.
Masks on.
Everybody masks on. Yeah, this one guy, he was inhaling fresh oxygen, straight from a container.
Straight from a container.
He was being very, very careful. But yeah, no. Look, Tao was wild.
Well, even just like the Halloween parties and stuff. I remember I came to one and it was just packed to the tees. So Marshmallows like playing there, and there's celebrities in the crowd with like normal people as well.
Yeah,
and it was just in the line out the door is insane.
Look, pre-pandemic, we were on a run. Even when we were able to kind of like reopen indoors after the pandemic, it kind of came back a little bit because Highlight was going. But I mean, yeah, we had crazy nights. Night. I mean, I remember our busiest night, and this was December 2019, right? So the pandemic started in 2020. We had 836 guests in one night at Tao on like a Saturday night, and there was no. I mean, I think there was like one party in one of the skyboxes or something, but I remember like me and the whole management team and our maitre d', we all took a photo on the stairs to like commemorate the night. Like we fucking did that, but it was so fun, right? It was a different style of hospitality, right? And I won't say that it wasn't about quality because the food at Tao is delicious, but to be able to pair that with the sort of environment and ambiance and energy and sort of sex appeal and celebrity and flash that sort of all came together in that space, it was. It was really cool.
Do you think talent has left LA in terms of hospitality? Like, is it because a lot of servers aren't professional servers or professional managers? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not their desired career, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
because there's a lot of actors out here. There's a lot versus like Vegas. There's people who. That's what they do. They moved out there for serving. There's bottle service girls who moved out there for doing bottle service. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are a lot of what I've heard a lot from super talented people that were in LA, that were in the hospitality industry, is that for those that were mobile and able to be sort of flexible, they've looked for opportunities outside of LA. There are other markets that are really booming. We were in New York in November, right? And the energy in the streets and people are out and there's a vibe, right? And there's lines outside the door.
Lines.
And it's like I forgot what that was like.
Okay.
That's how I remember that kind of energy when I lived in Miami, right? It was like that same sort of energy at night. And it's been a long time since I've seen or felt that in LA. Now, granted, I don't go out late night like that, right? I don't go to bars like I used to, but I still drive around, right? I still, I'm going home late night. And
actually, it was crazy. I mean, you hosted it at Level 8. That Halloween party was the best Halloween that I've seen in the last few years, at least.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
It's becoming fewer and further between, right? Like, and in LA, and I don't know, I mean, I'm sure some of
LA's such a big city, and so many people are here, and there's so many big entertainment industries. It's confusing why we don't have, or I haven't experienced that liveliness that we're talking about of how we were in New York, because it was different.
It was
different. I'm like, whoa.
But if you think about it, right? I mean, and maybe a different conversation for a different time, but like what a big highlight for a big opportunity, right? Like, I'm sure there's so many people like you and I that are craving that, right? And what could be that neighborhood? What could be that collection of things? What could it be Could it be a community movement, right? Could it be, but yeah, something, I feel like people, so LA is naturally big as hell and divided, right? You got to get in your
Different
car
worlds.
and drive everywhere,
Different
right?
worlds, though.
And so you have COVID that like isolated people even more. And maybe LA just hasn't really recovered from being that isolated and so spread, right? I don't know. That's probably a big reach, but.
No, I mean, we experience a few different areas. Like downtown's so different than West Side. And most people like never integrate.
Yeah.
My friend on West Side never comes to the Valley.
Right.
Right. It versus New York, you hop on a train and you're kind of there. But
you remember pre-pandemic, people would go downtown.
Yeah.
Downtown was a vibe, right?
Downtown was a vibe. But now, have you, like, dude, homelessness is crazy down there, dog.
It's fucking terrifying.
You actually see people shoot up all the time.
It's fucking terrifying. And like, or dying on there 2 weeks ago?
Dying.
2 weeks ago, like on my way to work, I work downtown, right by the crypto arena. And I'm going down, I think it was Flower, maybe Grand, I don't remember. But I drive past a pop tent, and I thought it was somebody who was setting up a new home. But there were cops, 2 cop cars around it. And what I found out is that they were covering a dead body. And they were doing their little like sort of investigation, and good old Citizen app. Do you have Citizen app?
No, because it started scaring me.
What scaring you?
Yeah, it's like guy was stabbed like a block down the street from you. I'm like, don't need to know that, bro.
Oh man, we got one. The place I work.
You have a Citizen app at the place I work.
I mean, I have Citizen app on my phone, but somebody showed me a screenshot of a Citizen app post that I had missed from a few weeks ago, basically saying that somebody got beat up by our security in downtown. It was like a citizen notification. And so they showed me the screenshot, and I'm like, what the? And they were like, it wasn't us. Like, nah, that didn't happen. So that also makes me think, like, you can't believe everything that comes up on Citizen.
Yeah, for sure, because someone else sees it and they just put it up.
Yeah, or it's like or it's like a random, like call or something that they think they've heard. Like somebody's on like a police scanner.
This is kind of like politics for me though. Like I actively choose to not pay attention as much as society tells you should, so I don't live in fear of like the next political bullshit. And that makes sense?
Yeah.
So like that's why I don't have Citizens app.
That makes sense. I feel like on the politics front, it's like shit's getting crazy, right? And, I mean, at least from my viewpoint, I feel like I'm just waiting for like the next crazy thing that's gonna happen.
Yeah, every few months it's some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like what was it? It was Trump talking about the actor that just died, right? The tweet.
So,
and then
yeah.
like Charlie Kirk got shot and died. And then
crazy.
I don't know. Kamala goes on and talks about how Biden was not like her friend.
Yeah. Starts shitting on him.
On Diary of a CEO. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. How he like psyched her out before the interview. I mean, before the debate or something. I mean, everybody's so self-interested, right? And I mean, the shitty part is, right, like a lot of them are just getting rich, right? On both sides, right?
Yeah,
I don't think it's just a Republican thing, or I think all of them are getting rich, right? And I think there's some sort of,
and it's only $500K to be president, like $500K a year, right? And I'm like, how are you getting millions and millions?
Is it 5 or 4? But yeah, something like that.
5 or 4, yeah.
I mean, shit, sign me up. Like,
Trump's like, I'm being a good president. I'm not taking the salary. I'm not taking the salary.
So, I saw something that said that his net worth has ballooned $4 billion this year.
That's crazy.
That's wild. You can't tell me that's legitimate. Like, right? Like I'm not like, and I know that's not.
Can you conceptualize like? What's the highest dollar amount that you can conceptualize? Because I don't think I can conceptualize billion.
No fucking way.
Right?
Right?
What does that even mean?
I can't even really conceptualize million, right? Like if you, I mean, I think I have a much better understanding of it
Millions
now
for
than
sure,
I did.
because like we live in LA and there's like a $2 million house. You're like, oh okay, like
Yeah.
that's like a couple million. Like we could buy a house with a couple million.
Yeah.
Like billion, that was like hundreds of millions. Like what you could? That's so many houses.
Yeah, like what do you do? Like what do you do with that, right? It's like, and but again, goes back. I mean, who knows, right? I'm not the politician, but like tax the rich. Like, what the fuck do you need all that money for? Like, what do you? There are so many people, right? We are arguing. I read something. I forget where it was, but I don't know the exact amount, right? But something like it would cost, I don't know, $50 billion, right, to like end hunger. Like, why don't like? Granted, you have to figure out logistically how to do that, right? Somebody has to figure out a distribution method for food or whatever that looks like. But like, there is so much wealth in the world. It's insane that some of the problems that we face as a world, we still face, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but as California, we pay a lot of taxes to like get rid of homeless people or help feed the homeless, and it pays a lot of people for the titles of nonprofit. Like a lot of people who are on the boards of those nonprofits are getting paid bank.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, 100%, right? And to sit around and to talk and to take a study and to like everybody's part of the problem, right? But and it goes back to, I guess, kind of like what we were talking about in the hospitality industry, right? It's very important that as we pick our leaders, right, whether it be in a restaurant, like what's that person's orientation, right? Like who is important to that person?
Like what's the culture?
Is it themselves and their self-enrichment and their self-interest?
Because we've seen that with managers as well throughout restaurants.
100%.
100%.
Right?
Or even
100%.
servers too.
Absolutely.
It's like,
right?
no, I'm taking this table. I'm taking this table.
Right.
Like,
It's
you know
all
what I'm saying?
self-serving,
Yeah.
right? All self-serving. Or are you oriented towards doing good for other people? And I feel like, you know, we kind of talked about that this morning, right? We were talking about like vaccines randomly, right? And how like, you know, the incentive structure. I feel like back in the, you know, and sure, there was corruption. I'm sure there's always been corruption in politics since day one. There's probably
we were
been
talking.
corruption.
So I was working at this place, and this guy told me he worked for Pfizer, and it was during COVID. And ironically, he openly said, "Yeah, I didn't take the vaccine. Like, fuck that shit." And I was
Yeah.
like, "What? You work for Pfizer?" He was like, "Yeah, I just sold 3 million masks to some country, and they don't work." And I'm like, "This is."
Right, and with a straight face, right, and I'm sure there's probably a part of that person that also feels like they're doing good work because they're like, look, they may not work perfectly, but like we sent them masks, right, and you know the vaccine, I may not feel comfortable taking it myself, but it, you know, they told me it's, you know, whatever percentage effective, so it's gonna help somebody.
Yeah.
So like I'm gonna sleep easy at night, right, where. And the incentive structure there for like Pfizer and for this person, I'm sure they're probably commissioned on sales. I don't know if they're a
That's 3 million
salesperson or if
masks,
they're
yeah.
wherever, right? But you know, whether it's their own individual personal sales that enrich them or it's the company sales that enrich them, their incentive is to sell more shit.
Yeah.
You know, and I think back in the day, probably, you know, there was much more of a true like a true care approach to pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
right? And it's same in politics, right? I think there was there's probably always been corruption, right? I'm sure people have been getting rich from day one, however they can, right? Bootleggers or however that goes, right? But I think like it's much more out in the open now that, at least from what I see, like the concerns of the average everyday person is not the incentive of the politicians. It's, you know, big corporation interest, self-interest, self-enrichment. You know, there's probably still a few that are trying to.
It's the same thing
do
in
the work for the people.
fitness industry.
Yeah.
Same in the fitness industry. There's a lot of consumables now, like a lot of substitutes for just building muscle. Like all you got to do is, it's pretty simple. Like lift weights, eat mostly whole foods, get your cardio in, and there's thousands of products out there that they're like, this is the right move, this is the right move, this is the right move. When in reality, it's just like, no, it's not at your best interest to consume all those things.
Yeah.
Like I have this one client.
But you know, I'm sure you've probably seen it in that world too, right? You got to come out with a new product, right? You got to have a new so you find a new, it's like, okay, well, we've got creatine. We're going to sell you creatine. But now we've got this creatine and they got me, right? I used to buy regular creatine. Now I get this creatine from the same place. It comes in a smaller container.
Yeah.
It costs more money, but it has something else in it, right? And I'm like, ooh, something else, right? And so,
and it's like 2x the price.
Yeah.
But the food science is cool in the sense of less calories. So you could have this keto bread or some bread that is more protein, less calories, but it's not made, I guess, traditionally properly. So I have a client who only ate processed foods to eat lower calories, if that makes sense. It's like you could consume more, feel fuller.
Because they're hollow. Is that
not necessarily hollow, but using food science, different chemicals and stuff to be able to have less calories in the food. Make sense?
Got it.
And so by doing so, they only took a shit like once a week. And I was like, it's not good for you. Like
that's not good.
It's not good for you.
Dude, I'm taking like 2 a day.
2 a day. That's all I'm saying.
Like,
so like just going back to like your meat and potatoes of like what a person needs of just lifting weight, just eating whole foods and not putting all this processed food in. Like I was able to get them to shit once a day at least.
I mean, look, progress, right? Progress. But yeah, I mean, like I think we were.
But the educational system too, it's like, how do you know what's right now? Like AI, dude, I saw this video today of a rabbit feeding its children. What's a small rabbit called? Bunnies. Bunnies? Don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
but okay, so there was not one, but there was like 4 bunnies and a cat feeding on mama rabbit. And then a cat comes in and then picks up the kitten and then walks away. It's like, oh, kitten mistakes rabbit as mom on the caption. And it looks so real on AI. It looks so real. And I was just like, God damn.
well, I mean, it's gonna be so important, you know. I mean, I think at least for when I was coming up, right, I didn't have an understanding that the education that I was given in public school was chosen for me, right? Like that was never really part of my thought process. My thought process was I'm getting an education, right? I now understand that
we get to choose.
There were a lot of people deciding what would be taught and what wouldn't be taught. And thankfully at that time when I was going through growing up, right? There was, again, I think there were more people that had reasonable goals and outcomes in mind. And so I'd like to think I got a pretty good education in public school, right? And I grew up in Texas. My understanding of public education in Texas, it is very different today than it was when, in terms of what they teach, in terms of what they require, in terms of the affiliation
I always thought it was like universal.
Church now, in terms of the books that they can read and the things that they study, the things that they can't study. It's crazy, right? How things are being hijacked and weaponized, right? Education's being weaponized, right? Access to real information is becoming weaponized, right? It's almost because I actually heard this somewhere, I don't remember where, but like, real information is becoming something that's only being held for the elite class now, right? So like back in the day, not to go there, but like they didn't want slaves to learn how to read, right? They didn't want slaves to be educated. Right. And that's not to say that that's what this is, but in a way, there is there are people that believe that there is sort of this rich ruling class that's starting to form now, right? People talk about this aristocracy or whatever. But the Amazons, the Metas, the Googles of the world have more Apples of the world, right? They have more geopolitical influence today than ever before. And so,
it's true, but also like society as a whole is experiencing a form of life that has never been experienced. Like we have running water, we have all these places that provide like we have a mics, and
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? We have light. You know, when the power was outage, we experienced the fires in LA in January, and when the power was out, and like everyone freaked the fuck out. It's because we're living like kings, to be honest. Like the internet and like porn, like kings didn't see that many naked women than 12-year-old boys are.
Totally.
Like, do you think about that? Like, that's crazy.
I do, but there's also, there's this world where it's like, they have all of these things in Moscow, right? They have all these things in Beijing. They have all these things in North Korea. They have, for certain people, right? And granted, yes, in the Western world, we have way more access to it than those type of countries. But I do worry that it's, that people are going to start asking less questions. They're going to be less curious. They're going to have less access to like what really went on, right? Or like what really is happening, right? It's interesting to think like, how
do you stay curious?
What we talked about earlier, remembering that there's way more that I don't know than I do know. And I think in the pursuit of trying to be like an interesting person, right? Like I'd like to, going back to this character I play at work, right? Part of that character role is like, they're well-traveled and they're interesting, like they're, and not from the standpoint of, I think one of the best lessons out of that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is you'll make twice as many friends being interested in them rather than trying to get them to be interested in you. So I stay curious about other people, and I don't try to. Have you listened to the more recent Diary of a CEO talk? He's talking with somebody that they talk about communication, right? And there was a certain style, and I was very aware that I used to do this. I probably still do from time to time, but I try to be aware of it, and I don't do it as much. But where you're talking with somebody about something, and you ask a question, right? Maybe about a place they've been or about something, right? And they tell you something, and then you follow it up with your own story that's similar, but maybe more grand, or maybe but it's unnecessary at the end of the day, right? Because what would be better is if I asked you a follow-up question. Right, not to trade stories, right? Not to give you my version, right? What would be better is to ask you another question.
Also, people want to express themselves to others. Like, it's a good feeling, and so if you could give that safe space to them, you could give them that opportunity. One, like, it does something for them, but two, you get to learn something too.
Totally.
And people are so interesting, especially in LA, bro. Like, the things that people do, or I don't know, like your job's really interesting to me in the sense of you have to organize systems in this whole restaurant. You're managing servers, bartenders. You have to hire people. You have to fire people. Like, what's that like? You have to the accounting part. Like it's a whole run system. And then as I come as a consumer of it, and I see this Halloween party, and you've talked about months of what you're doing for it, and all the shit behind it, and all the things that you're struggling with. It turned out like really well. I saw nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh, this is interesting that I know the backstory about it,
Yeah, I mean, there's no substitution for hard work.
Yeah.
Right, like there is no shortcut for that. That's where I become super interested in AI.
Yeah.
If I could find a couple shortcuts to let me spend more time on the things that I love, right? But I heard this early on in my career from a guy that was a mentor of mine, and he used to say, paraphrasing, but essentially, yes, there are parts of my job that I fucking hate, right? But I have to do those things so that I can do the parts of my job that I really love. And so that like really stuck with me. And I'm like, yeah, there are parts of this job that I really fucking hate. But if I want to be good at this job, I have to do those things, and I have to do those things well. And doing those things will allow me to be able to do the parts of the job that I really fucking love, right? And you talked about hiring. I love hiring. From really early on, right? Like being able to give somebody an opportunity to make money, I thought was such a cool thing, right? Like the fact that I can give somebody else that opportunity. Like, who am I Like, how cool is that? Like, and especially if I worked in a great place, right? If I knew that it was a place where people were making good money and the culture was great and the environment was great, I'm like, dude, I get to bring you into this. This is so exciting, right?
exciting.
You know, like, welcome to the party. You know, there's a cost of admission, right? I talk about that with new employees. Price of admission. You got to show up looking great, feeling great, on time. You got to know what the fuck you're doing, right? You got to know your menu, got to know your drinks, got to know your service, got to take great care of the guests, got to be a good team member.
The thing is, dude,
And then you can have a fucking blast, right? If you can do those 4 things for me, like, I hope that you have the best time here.
Yeah.
Like, I hope.
It's crazy the amount of people who won't do those 4 things, though.
Who don't have the discipline to do it every single day.
To do it every single day.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't educated on the sense of, like, you can make great money in hospitality.
Dude, I made bank. When fine dining server, downtown Atlanta, 20 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I really made that year, but I probably, and I'm 41.
Yeah.
So this is, 20 years ago? So 2005, I probably made $90,000 that year.
As a server.
As a server in 2005.
Yeah.
In Atlanta. That's like, I mean, you extrapolate it, you put it in LA money, you take inflation, that's like $1 million.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like,
But actually, though.
but real talk, it probably is the equivalent of making like $160,000 in LA today.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean,
But as a manager too, or a server at the time, why were we talking about getting paid for hospitality?
we were talking about giving somebody the opportunity to do the job, and you were saying like managing and
doing those
things.
4 things.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, you have the opportunity to make great money. Like, do it well. Like, so everyone continues to make good money. Like, the saddest part is seeing a place close down because the culture goes down.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that I do love about hospitality. But a lot of people in the fitness industry, because I totally switched industries, like kind of the opposite, and they just don't get it. Like, why do you want to go out? Why do you want to do all these things? Like, why do you like experiencing a restaurant? They don't really understand it because they never experienced it. It's like, back to your taking people out of reality, you know, and experiencing it with people you love is a cool thing.
100%.
It's like a movie. Like, you watch the movie Cocktail with Tom Cruise and you see them like bartending in this club and they're doing tricks and they're like, oh, it took a while for that bartender to learn that skill.
Yeah.
Or you see the showgirl going on stage like at a Delilah or at Fleur or something like that. You're like, oh, that girl right there was trained to be a dancer for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, and you as the operator or something like that is like, you're hiring teams or employees. Like, you hired a girl or the bottle service girl who's hot, who's part of it, or the bartender who could do like a trick.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fucking show.
And there's so many things that can be done and that you see and that you experience and that you know, I can, you know, at so many different stages in my career, I can remember like, holy fuck, remember when we did that? Or remember when we did that? Like, you know, one that comes to mind, I worked at this Thai restaurant in Miami. It was super cool. It's called Kong. And one year for Miami Music Week, we were able to get Questlove to come and DJ brunch. So we had Questlove at brunch, right? And but you know, I remember like the first big one, right? And I've had, you know, been fortunate that in my career I've been able to have so many of those like moments of like organizing really cool things and being in the background of it and being able to like put that forward. And I think, you know, something that's helped me be successful through all of that is going back to like the orientation of it, right? It was never about me. Like, sometimes I do look back and I'm like, wow, that was really fucking cool, right?
Yeah.
But usually when we have those moments, like, I try to put it back to the people that I'm working with, right? I'm like, you guys fucking did that, right? Like, go, you know, and whether it's like executing the plan that I've been putting together for months or not, like, it doesn't matter, right? Like, we did it, you know, and so.
What's that feeling like when there's a big event and it's pretty chaotic and you have to organize all these people and it happens and it goes well?
I mean, I in the way that I manage, like to use a lot of sports references.
Okay.
You know, I use tons, right? Like I'll tell people like, you got to play the whistle, right? Well, there's no fucking whistles, right? But you get what I'm saying, right? It's you know, service doesn't end until service ends, right? I tell people it's a marathon and a sprint, you know, like to pace yourself, but move fucking quick, right? Like there's a lot happening here, right? There's so much. And so, you know, I think what it feels like in those moments is there's no substitution for a lot of planning, right? And usually when I'm planning, I'm thinking about what could go wrong first. I'm not thinking about perfect world scenario. We're going to do this and then we're going to do that. I'm thinking, what if all 500 people show up at the same time? What am I going to do? Right? What if nobody shows up for the first hour? What am I going to do? What is, you know, how do we get people breaks? How do we, like, I try to think about, and thankfully being in this industry long enough now, I'm able to think about things from a lot of different angles. And I'd like to think I'm a pretty good planner and preparer for things. And usually day of the event, right? Or day of whatever's happening, I like to be calm. Right. I don't like to be frantic. I like to take my time. I like to get in super early. I like to have a meeting with the team early. I like to, you know, make sure that the staff is able to ease into events. I think, you know, in big events, one of the mistakes I see a lot of times is people are bringing the team in 30 minutes before doors. Well, they've just put their stuff away in a locker, and you know, sometimes it's necessary, right? Sometimes you can't give more time, but especially in a big event, you know, let people ease into it a little bit. Hopefully, have a little break before. But yeah, and then the feeling after is it's just all adrenaline, right? You just like look up and it's over.
You get high from it?
Dude, we had some crazy events. Like, I mean, I remember one of my first big events when I joined Tao was Kevin Hart's 40th birthday party, and we had.
Was the 50th at
40th.
Lavo?
I don't think he's 50 yet.
You don't think he's 50th?
I think he's still in his 40s.
Was the 40 at Lavo?
Tao.
So 50. 50 was at Lavo.
Kevin Hart?
Yeah.
I don't think he's 50.
Okay. I bartended a birthday for him.
He may have done another birthday.
Okay.
But I don't know if he's 50 because 40 was just like 7 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe 6 years ago.
Maybe it was 45.
Maybe that would make sense.
But
I don't
continue.
know. But yeah, crazy events, right? And you have all these you know, unexpected moments of people and coordination, and you know, you've got security, and you've got, you know, and then for me, it's never like I don't know. One day I think I should, you know, just try to like capture some of those moments, write them down, like remember them. Not for the sake of like writing a book, but I think there's certain things that I don't think about all the time. And you know, I've definitely had, you know, I'm aware of people that have had really, you know, amazing careers and have done way cooler things than I've ever done.
It's kind of like,
but I'm really proud of the things I've been able to do
for it.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like we're part of, especially you being more integrated into them, like flies on the walls for people that I don't think I should have witnessed the thing. Like I've been like I bartended Adele's album release for Spotify. Like
yeah,
that's interesting. Like that's cool. Or when Kanye was Kim and Kim broke up, I was bartending for his team at Soho House. I'm like, that's weird. I'm a fly on the wall in that situation. And you've done not thousands, maybe hundreds of events.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I'm just a fly over here. And like, it's cool that like a lot of the world freaks out about certain celebrities and stuff. And you're like, oh, like, yeah.
And for me, it was never really like, I think it's cool from like the pop culture standpoint, or from the, you know, if it's a music artist and I like their songs and they happen to be performing in our space, you know, that's super cool, especially when you know, they could perform in, you know, 50, 60,000 person arenas, and 100%. They're doing this for 300 people,
maybe less. Like Floor Room was like 100 people.
But, you know, for myself, my orientation is always, you know, again, going back to like what I've like not focused on, but like what's been really cool to me. And what's always resonated with me more than those experiences are the people that are in this business. And they don't have to be famous. Like I've had the famous chefs, right, and the well-known restaurateurs and be regulars in some of the places that I've worked at, and that's very cool. And it doesn't have to just be that caliber, right? It could be, there were local chefs in Miami that I had a lot of respect for, that had a lot of respect for what I was working on and what me and my team were doing in certain places. And for me, that was always way cooler than like, and we've had all the celebrity, right? Then this person's in the dining room. Like that's cool, but like Danny Meyer being obsessed with the pork curry at this restaurant that I worked at and wanting the chef to teach him how to make it, like that was way cooler, than.
Yeah, I mean, those are more intimate stories. Those are more like human stories. Those are more.
Well, for me, it's like game recognized game, right? It's like if Venus Williams were to go to LeBron and be like, damn, homie, you're a great basketball player, that would mean something. But if Michael Jordan came and said, Bron, you're fucking killing it, he'd be like, I fucking made it.
100%.
He'd be like, I'm done.
I'm done.
That's it. Like, mic drop, my career is over. The GOAT just told me I'm the GOAT.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is for me. It's like I can appreciate, people in different industries appreciating what I'm doing. But like, if you're in the same game and you're like, you're doing good work, that means that
means a lot.
Yeah,
it means a lot.
And likewise, right? And I feel like something that I should probably do more because I think it's there's not enough sharing of appreciation in the hospitality industry these days. I feel like it's just it's difficult, right? And you hear the guest complaints and you hear the staff disagreements and troubles there, or the management disagreements, and I don't think any of us hear appreciation enough, especially from people that are like going through the same battle that you're going through.
Yeah, because there's always stuff going on too. Like when you go visit a venue, like of course the person that wants to see you and spend time with you, but they also have to take care of everything else, and so it's difficult. And so I think showing appreciation right when they're there is like the best thing.
Yeah, telling somebody like, oh, that was so cool that or this dish was amazing, or your team's killing it.
Yeah. Bro, what has I guess sobriety and fitness done for you over like the last decade? Or 5 years.
I mean, decade, sobriety did not start a decade ago for me.
Oh.
Look, I mean, the work hard, play hard was always a big part of the industry when I was first coming up, right? And being a server and getting into management and and it was always a really good time.
Young manager too.
Dude, the party never stopped, right? Yeah. Like I can remember leaving, in Miami especially. I spent the better portion of my 20s living in Miami. I was there from 23-ish to 32.
Okay.
Roughly, about 9 years.
Oh, wow.
And I spent a year in DC during that time. I spent a little time in San Francisco during that time, but I always had an apartment in Miami for those 9 years. And I don't know if you know, but you can drink 24/7 in Miami.
I didn't know that.
Clubs don't close, right?
Is it really?
What's that?
Yeah, like they don't?
No.
Oh, okay.
You could go to Space, and Space is going until the sun comes up. It was very common. People would go to Space on, Saturday night, and they at 10 o'clock, and they would still be there Sunday at 4 p.m. because they've watched the sunrise and they've gone through, the afternoon, and they're coming down off ecstasy. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it was a really good time. Work hard, play hard, and then as I started getting older and realizing more, what I wanted in life, what I wanted out of my career, what I wanted out of myself, it started to become really clear that, life had to change a little bit, and alcohol was one of those things that really, it just really was holding me back. I felt like, I would wake up, hungover and not be my best self in a meeting. And I had an amazing opportunity in front of me. I'd been promoted to director of operations, and I was like, I can't fuck this up. Like I was doing all these cool things, right? We talked about all these events and we're doing all these things, and I'm like, I can't fuck this up, right? And this is going to be a problem. And it started as, something that probably going to be forever, but I was like, at least a year, right? I'm going to take the next year off. I don't know.
Where did that self-awareness come from? Because there's a lot of, I guess, people would be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I could get my shit together. I could have a couple drinks here and there.
I mean, it started to build over time. Like, it wasn't something that just manifested very quickly, right? I had gone back and forth on this conversation in my mind for a couple of years at that point, right? And had taken times of being...
Was there a tipping point? Was there a really bad day?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I was supposed to be ready for this meeting. I was not ready for this meeting, not even close to ready for this meeting. And was about 3 months into being promoted to director of operation. And so meeting did not go well. Had a conversation with the guy that was my boss at that time. And he was also a very close personal mentor as well. And you know, through that conversation, it became really clear that I was at an inflection point of my life. And it was a moment that I could choose to, I think at that point, right, going back to kind of like the dual personalities, right, or like living in two worlds, right, I could try to dive deeper into living in two worlds, because I was very much living in two worlds then, but it was a little, maybe not then, but it was a little different, right? There was work hard, play hard, right? And it was like, okay, I can either continue to dive into that, or I can see where this is going to take me, right? See where this opportunity, with the skills that I've already acquired, where can I take this? And if I continue doing what I'm doing, I may never know where I can take this. And so I chose to say, like, all right, let's see where we can take this. And, you know, I had a lot of really good support. It wasn't easy, right? You know, I'll be the first to tell you it wasn't just like, you know, I need to, it wasn't as simple as just saying, you know, I'm just not going to drink anymore, right? There was an aspect of like, this is not okay, right? The way that I'm partying, the way that I'm having such a disregard for who I need to be professionally, like, this is not okay. And so there was a part of me that was scared as well, right? Facing, you know, looking down both of those paths, there was a part of me that was scared, like, if I stay on the path that I'm on, not only may I ruin this, but some other bad things may happen. And so, you know, it wasn't worth it. And so I was like, all right, that's it, I'm done. And then, yeah, that was like a little over 4 years ago.
It's crazy how you navigate like the scene still, because you still hype people up to take shots or drink.
You know, it was really, dude, it was really awkward. You know, it was really awkward for the first. So going back to what I said, like I toyed with this idea for a while. You know, before I moved to LA and I was living in Miami. You know, there was a point where I was like, all right, I can't keep partying like this. You know, I had a lot of access in Miami. You know, if you work,
I mean, you have a lot of access in hospitality in general.
Yeah, and in Miami, it was really small then.
Yeah.
The community was super small, and if you knew the right people and you worked at the right places, you could have whatever you wanted. And liquor companies could spend you know, all this money, and so liquor companies would host nights out and bottle service. And so, like, if you really wanted to, if I really wanted to, I was in a position where I could probably drink for free 4 out of 7 nights a week. And I was drinking 7 out of 7 nights a week. You know, right? Like, we were partying every night.
But I guess my question to you is, like, how do you stay so lively, like pumping up the party even when we go out or with friends and stuff, and like not get a drink, not be tempted at all?
Maybe, but not drinking has become such a part of who I am that I don't know who I would be if I picked up a drink again, right? Like, it's not even a question of like, do I think I can drink responsibly or not anymore for me. It's, I wouldn't know that person. Whether that person was able to do it responsibly or not, I wouldn't know who that person is. Like, I like the person.
You like the person you are right now.
Yeah.
The person, the character traits and the things that you accomplished, like, you like that guy right now.
Yeah.
And you deviating from that guy is not worth the risk because you like him so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any benefit that would come wouldn't be if there were a benefit, wouldn't be worth it.
And what about fitness, bro?
But fitness, so
You've got some legs on you now. You got cakes.
dude, I mean, I'm like showing Mitzi some of the moves we were doing today, and I'm like, fucking
Were you really?
Yeah, I was dying. So I think fitness was a great next step. I think when I first started my sobriety journey, I tried to have this idea of like having a fitness journey as well, but it just really was not working out. And then Mitzi was like, all right, well, we're going to work out together. And that's when she like hit you up, right? She knew, cause she knew I was, that's one thing, I mean, shout out to Mitzi, right? Like having like a solid life partner is, at least, in my experience, I see where that saying comes, where they're like, one of the most important decisions you're going to make in your life is who you choose to spend your life with, right? Like make sure you
a lot of people who are happy say that.
Yeah, dude, make sure you choose somebody that's not just going to be your cheerleader, but also fucking kick your ass when you need them to kick your ass, right?
Yeah.
Like, those
Mitzi
things.
can kick your ass for sure. At work too.
Yeah, right. But she'll also be my biggest fucking fan.
Yeah.
And she's good at knowing when she needs to be which. But she's like, all right, we're gonna work out, because she knew I was like in a little bit of a funk, and I was kind of like figuring out like, okay, what do I do next? And so we started working out, and we know how that went, right? She bowed out. She was like, this is way too early and this is way too much. and then we kept going, and now it's part, like when we talk about like taking your time and getting ready, this, right? Some of my biggest days I want to work out, right? Like some of my biggest days I'm hitting you up and I'm like, can we work out at 7 a.m.? I've got a really big day today. Yeah. And I feel like
it like primes you
100%, right? It's like that mental focus. I think it's less so about the mental focus and it's more so about the discipline, right? Like it's showing up and doing something you don't want to do. And doing it to the best of your ability. And I feel like that psychologically like goes into the rest of your day.
Have you heard of the mid-cingulate cortex?
Never.
Okay, this part of the brain that it gets bigger by doing the things that you don't want to do. So like, for example, you will wake up at 6 a.m., your alarm goes off, and you have to train with me at 7. And you only went to bed at 1. You're like, I want to text Nate saying that I don't want to come, but like you go anyway. Yeah. So this part of your brain grows. And every time it grows, obviously it's micro. The more you do it, the bigger this piece of the brain gets, the easier it is to do the hard thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like, but it wouldn't happen if you woke up and be like, oh, I really want to work out. I'm going to go work out. Doesn't do anything for it. So each time that you decide to do the hard thing, and the more difficult the hard thing is to do, the mid-cingulate cortex gets bigger.
Well, I feel like in the last 2 years, this thing is fucking bulging, right? Like
but
I probably
it makes the things at work too. It's not just the physical thing. Yeah. It's like, oh, at work I could do the scheduling when I don't want to do it faster and better and like on time, And so I don't know. It's been cool to see you do, because a lot of people, consistency is like the hardest skill to learn with like at least in my experience with any industry.
Well, discipline, right? And I feel like, not to say that I was ever undisciplined, right? Like I feel like, I've always had some level of discipline to be able to grow my career, right? Yeah. Like I wasn't, to get to GM, to director, to, right? There's discipline that was there, but I feel like there's like a next level of optimization, right? Like if that makes sense, right? Like showing up and working out every week and doing that and obviously I'm getting the physical benefit, right? I look in the mirror and I'm like, looking all right, guy.
Jacked.
Yeah, looking all right, guy. But then it also becomes this thing where it's like, going back to what I was saying, where it was like, there's parts of my job that I have to do, so I get to do the parts that I love to do, right? There's parts that I fucking hate, but it makes doing those parts easier, right? Because I can just say, just fucking do it, right? Just like, I don't want to do that last set, but I'm gonna fucking do it, right? And I might bitch for a couple seconds, and I might be like, oh, do I really But the reality is I got to get it done, and I got to get it done right now, and I'm
you feel
able
good after.
and I'm able to apply that to work for sure, where I'm able to say like, okay, this fucking sucks, but once this is over, maybe you got to take a lap around the block. Maybe you can go to Starbucks, get a coffee, maybe.
Isn't it crazy we talk about age a lot, and you got this nice compliment I think a year ago of like, bro, you're the same age as me. Like, what?
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah, and then you realize like health is like the only thing that you truly have. Like, obviously you have to make money to provide for the things that you have, but you navigating through this world healthily is priceless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's another thing with like the drinking part as well. Now it's like, like I can't imagine having a hangover ever again. I remember how terrible they were. I can't imagine ever having one again. Right. It's like, it also, this fitness journey reinforces so many other parts of like my other journeys. Right. It's like, I just want to feel good, right?
All
to
the
your
time.
point, right? I just want to feel good all the time. I want to feel this sort of like, this ease, I want to feel in control. I want to feel,
So why do you think when the people drink and they have the hangover and it's a shitty feeling that they want to drink again? Is it because like the highs are higher, the dopamine is higher?
I think because they have shown themselves that they can always trust themselves. I've shown myself that I can't always trust myself. So I don't look at anybody that drinks and gets blackout and wakes up the next morning. I don't look at them and think like, oh, they should be sober. Right? Like I leave that to it took me a while to figure it out for myself. Like I leave that decision to anybody else. But for me, I'm like, you've shown yourself you can trust yourself. I showed myself I couldn't.
Do you have any mentors in the hospitality space, like specifically that have changed your perspective on the whole entire industry or your life in general?
I mean, I've had a few along the way. There's my first was in the Mexican restaurant that I worked at, right? That gave me the opportunity to be a manager, and he was young, right? I think I was 21 when he gave me the opportunity to be a manager. He was 35 and he was vice president of the company. And I was like, that's so fucking cool, right? Like VP, right? Because when I started, it was all about career and progression, right? It was like, because maybe part of the origin story I should have shared is when I left Georgia Tech. So I got this 30 in physics 2 test. I decided I was going to take a semester off of school. So I took a semester off. 3 months after I took the semester off, within the first 3 months, the restaurant I was working at offered me a management job. So my family was cool with the idea of me taking a semester off while I figured my life out. Then when I told them that I was taking this management job at a restaurant, they're like, holy fuck, you're throwing your life away, right? Like you are throwing everything away. What are you talking about? You're in school for engineering. That's a really good job. You got to go get that job. You got to go get a degree, right? There weren't, I don't know if anybody in my family at that point had a college degree. There were people in my family that were pursuing their college degrees at that time that ultimately got them. But I think at that point, nobody had gotten one yet. Like we were the first generation of like cousins that were like all going to college. I don't remember if our aunts or uncles had degrees then, but I think they've gone back to school and gotten them. But
you took a semester off.
But yeah, I took a semester off. They offered me the management job. I tell my family I'm going to be this manager, and they're like, you're throwing your fucking life away. And so I'm like, I've got to make something of myself, right? Well, first I said, you guys aren't paying anything towards my school. So if you guys want to contribute to my college education, then you are welcome to have a say in what I am doing for the future.
That's so mature of you to say too, because there's a lot of people who would take out the loans and everything to appease their parents. Like to be so self-aware of that, like, yo, like I need to take out these loans.
Yeah, but it was definitely, it was made easier by the fact that I didn't have this really close familial relationship.
Sure.
We weren't enemies, but we weren't so close that I was hanging on, what their thoughts and opinions were.
For sure.
I would listen to it, we spoke, but it wasn't like my everything. I wasn't seeking
Their
validation. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe in some ways I was, but in those ways I wasn't. But anyway, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to be the best. Right. And so this guy was 35. He was vice president of the company. I'm like, this is so cool. And he really took me under his wing, and he taught me all about finances of restaurants and how the finances work and how labor works and how cost of goods work and how to manipulate inventories, because he knew I was good at math and the kind of math that you don't need to be good at for physics too, right? Like I was very quick at arithmetic, right? Give me simple multiplication, division, addition, percentages, right? Like, which is sort of the math of business and accounting.
Yeah, debits and credits.
Yeah,
That's it.
Right? So I understood it, and he recognized that I understood it, and I was hungry, right? I was working 6 days a week. I was working 12 hours a day. I was doing projects on the side. He fostered that curiosity, right? He saw that I was engaged, and he took the time out of his schedule, because I think there was like 6 or 7 at that time. Took the time out of his schedule to make sure that I learned a lot, right? Which was cool. And then I was able to display some of that learning and some of that understanding, right? And it wasn't just business oriented, right? He also taught me a lot about leadership and culture and values. And so then I was able to use some of that later on. And then I had a guy that I worked with that gave me my first opportunity as a director of operations. And I worked with him in this company in Miami for a bit, and then we went to, and then he was COO for this company in Denver, and he reached out to me, and it was at the point in Miami where I'd come to a point where I was like, all right, this lifestyle might kill me, right? Like I said, I had showed myself that I couldn't trust myself in Miami. I showed myself I couldn't trust myself.
Or was it Miami?
Man,
both.
it was me, right? Miami was definitely an accelerant, but it was me. And so he gave me this opportunity to be a regional director of operation. We did that. It was super cool. It was the first time I had overseen a lot of different concepts, and he taught me a lot about how to manage the business at a larger level, right? To really be an effective director and to be able to manage multiple people, not through micromanaging, but through systems and accountability, and he had these different sayings that I still use now. They may have been his, they may not, but he talked about being like a swoop and poop manager. Where he's like, you're not just going to fly in, shit on the team, and then fly out, right? If you're going to fly in and shit on, and his idea of shitting on was like, talk about problems, then you need to stay there and make sure you're invested for the solutions, right? Like, don't just fly in, shit on people, and then fly out. And he taught me a lot of really good wisdom on how to be, how to manage managers in a way. Like I'd been a very successful GM. And up until that point, I was running really cool places. We had gotten some really cool awards. I had proven to myself that I could run, teams. But what I hadn't learned really well yet at that point in my career was delegation. I was still taking a lot on myself, a lot on myself. And, and he taught me really the importance of messaging, right? He was a very crafty, he was very good at making a pitch. Right. About finding the right way to say something that would make you be like, all right, I get it, and I'm bought in. Right. Like I remember this one meeting where there were people that had been on the team longer than me. I was the new guy on the team, and they were curious. They were questioning what I was doing. Right. What's Harley doing? Right. What is he even working on? Right. We're all over here working on these things. What's he even doing? Right. And some of it was like this skepticism towards the new guy. And some of it was they just didn't really know. And, the guy that was my boss had this amazing way of sort of bringing everyone together. And he's like, look, I know it's really difficult right now. We've got a lot of work that we're working on. We've got a really big project ahead of us. There's so many different things happening, do you all trust me? Was essentially kind of how the conversation went. And we're like, yeah, of course. Like, you're the shit. And he's like, cool. So I need you guys to trust that I know what each of you are doing and the role that each of you need to play. And that if anything is going wrong in any of your worlds and we need to support, I'll be sure to, like, basically he was like, you know, everyone shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
that's such a good way of putting it.
But it was led from trust that he had built, right?
With each other,
with him, with us to him. It wasn't because there wasn't a lot of trust between each other, right? I was the new guy. They thought I was there to take their job. They thought I was this like city slicker, right, from Miami. They all lived in Denver. They, you know, there was a big lack of trust. But he's like, you don't have to trust each other. If you trust me, then by default you should trust each other, right? And so he taught me different ways to like bring teams together, right? And to
because leading people's
messages.
Like leading people's a whole different thing. There's so many talented people that don't work well in teams.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
There are people that are much better individual performers, right?
So I guess my question to you is like, what's the type of person that would be great at managing, that would be great in the hospitality industry in terms of leadership? Because I feel like it's a space that can be improved on by more people being introduced to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think maybe not, right? Maybe because I've been in the industry so long, I think I'd like to think that the stigma towards making this a career is going away, but probably in certain places there's still like, going back to what I was saying about my parents, like, you're throwing your life away, right? There are certain people that feel like it's not real, right? Or that it's not.
That's what I'm saying. Like, or my parents, I bring them to love, and they're like, "What is this place? Like, how does this exist?"
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people who don't think it exists, but
No.
the thing is, there's a romance to it.
There is a romance to it, and I think that's where, you know, especially now, this day and age, you have to have a passion for it, right? Otherwise, you're never going to do it well, or you're never going to do it to the best of the ability. You have to genuinely care about people. You have to genuinely want to have like a service disposition, right? You have to want to make other people feel good. You know, it can't. And to me, that has to be, you know, like thinking about Simon Sinek, right? And start with why, right? Like that has to be like some form of the why that you want to be in this business, right? If your why is you want to get rich, don't fucking do it. If your why is you want to have a chill, cushy 30-hour-a-week job, don't fucking do it, right? Like whatever it is, right? But you have to, in my opinion, you have to genuinely like care about people, want to serve people. From there, you have to be super resilient, right? Because people suck. You know, one thing I've learned, you know, being in this industry for 20 years is like there are some amazing people, and they make it all worth it. But there are some people that really just suck, you know, that are just not nice and not interested in trying to be nice. There's a really cool philosophy that I love. It came from Danny Meyer, and it's in this Will Guidara book, but they talk about making the charitable assumption. And it's something I find myself talking more about as I get like kind of more into, you know, culture building and things like that. And I feel like that's such a key piece of culture building in hospitality and restaurants.
What assumption?
Making the charitable assumption.
Okay, what does that mean?
So essentially, it means essentially leading with kindness, right? So if you're working, right, and I'm coming to check in, and you tell me that my table isn't ready, and I flip the fuck out, instead of you being like, this person's an asshole, have your first thought be, this person's a hungry asshole, right? You know, it's like try to find some way of giving some grace, right?
Yeah,
this person,
like, I understand why you're angry, man.
And like I'm sure you're probably starving, right? I'm sure, like, obviously I'm not going to make the assumption for you and label that with you
obviously
as a
not
person,
in your head,
but in my head I'm going to be like, man, they must be having a really bad day. right? Before I go to now, if you keep pressing, right, there are limits, there are boundaries, right? And I think that's something that it took me a long time to figure out in the hospitality industry is when and where to employ the boundaries, right? Because if my job is to, right, I think one of the worst things that could have happened to hospitality is this idea that the customer is always right. You know, that whole mantra. And I get where it came from, right? And yes, it sounds good on a fucking bumper sticker, but you know, I worked with this guy, he had the best way of saying it. And he used to say, I do not agree that the customer is always right. As a matter of fact, they're probably mostly wrong. But what I do believe is that the customer should always be satisfied. So if they're an asshole, I may not be able to change the fact that they're an asshole, but I can make sure that they're a satisfied asshole when they leave my restaurant.
Yeah. I love that.
And I'm like, I fucking love that, right? Because the reality is we serve all people, right? Like I don't get to pick and choose
who comes in your doors,
who comes through the doors, right? And if we want to stay in business, you know, then we've got to find a way to make it work with all people, even those that are having a bad day. Yeah.
And I feel like it takes a special type of person to be able to do that over and over again.
I mean, you got to be like, what's the, I forget, there's like a cartoon movie, right? Where like they have like a 10-second memory. Yeah, you almost have to do that because it's so easy to get jaded, right? It's so easy to have one interaction one night and be like, everybody fucking sucks.
I've seen managers like cry because of an experience with a guest, and then they're just like not the same,
and they're a disaster for the rest of the night.
Not even the rest of the night, the rest of the like month, or like they're just done with the job after that.
Dude, I've been that manager, right? And it's like, and I don't know how I necessarily got I mean, there's some great books. Like I remember one of the first books that got me really into the idea that there's something there, right? That this is an avenue that I can take to start my own professional development, because I was trying to figure out, in the absence of mentors, I had one more really strong mentor. You know him, Rob.
Shout out to Rob Raleigh.
Yeah, Rob Raleigh. But and we didn't get a chance to talk about him. We may, whatever. But I'd be remiss if I don't mention him because he was such a huge part of my career. You know, you have these people that have this chip on their shoulder, and that they start almost hating every guest, right? Every guest is the enemy. Every guest is the problem. Oh my God, they asked me for another napkin. Oh my God, can you believe, right? And I hear those things, and I understand not everybody is fortunate enough to be able to do what they really love, right? Like it's proven fact. Not everybody is 100% passionate about their job, right? So I understand.
I would say most people.
Yeah, so I understand that the way that I look at hospitality may not be the way that the average employee is going to look at it. But you know, if you're that jaded employee, I hope you're looking for what that passion is of yours, right? What that thing is that you know you can really thrive and you know excel, and not even necessarily excel, right? Because that's a whole different side. Just thrive personally, emotionally, right? That you can feel good every day, because you know it's tough when we've all been in those places, right? When you walk into that restaurant and you know everyone hates their job.
You don't want to be there.
No, and I'd like to say I haven't worked in places like that, but you know, there's cultures and ebb and flow, right? There's moments, right? There's moments where, yeah.
What is the not necessarily romance, but like what is the most fulfilling feeling from the job itself? Because Patrick's a good example, or Rob's a good example, or you're a good example too, in the sense of so excited. Like when you showed me around the other day at Level 8, and I'm like, whoa, like your character's on. I was like, you're talking about the building and like how you set up all how the team set up all the direct decorations and all these things are going. I was like, wow, you seem very like proud of it at the time too.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's like that, you know, the foundational, like, you know, if you're going to do something, do it well. You know, if you're going to, you know, my grandmother used to say all the time, so many great life lessons that I learned along the way, but some that stick with me more than others. She used to say, you always hear those people, right? And they'll say, ooh, look at that person over there. She's so lucky. She's so lucky. Look at him over there. Look at that nice car. He's so lucky. He's so lucky. Right. And I mean, I would be told this every day from when I was like 14, right? 15.
Your grandmother.
She would be like, she goes, but you know what nobody saw? All the hard work that person put in to be lucky. Right. She's like, everybody just sees the result. Right. And they're like, damn, that person's so lucky. But so few people really take the time to appreciate the work. Right. She's like, so she would always end it by saying, work your ass off and one day you'll get lucky.
Dude, I think we'll end it there. I think that was good. We're done. Peace.